Hi everyone, this is Katie from Katie Loves Classic Books, and I'm here today with my December wrap-up. So I did already film this once, but I recently updated my computer and my iMovie thing needed to be updated too because when I finished recording it disappeared. So I had to re-download the app and record this again. So now it's a little dark outside, so I'm sorry about that. But anyways, let's get straight to the book. So I didn't read that much this month. I only finished 2 books because I spent most of the month reading quite a long book that I finished in the first couple days of January. So since I finished in January, and that's always how I separate things, I'll have it in my January wrap-up. Anyways, so the first book I read this month was 13 Guests by J. Jefferson Farjan. This was published in 1936, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. This is a golden age mystery novel. And it starts out with a man at a train station, and when he gets off, he has an accident there, and so these other people that were on the same train as him take him to this country estate that belongs to a man named Lord Aveling, and he stays there to recuperate. Lord Aveling just happens to be having a hunting house party at the same time, so there's lots going on there and lots of people staying at his estate. And everything seems fine and lovely until some sinister events happen, and including a murder. Things take a turn for the worse. So I found the mystery to be interesting. I couldn't figure out for most of it, so it's good. It kept me reading, and that's what you want from a mystery novel mostly. I thought the setting of the country estate, in a house with a certain cast of characters that's pretty set, it's just a good location to have a mystery. It's one of my favorite settings, perhaps, is something like that. And I love the cast of characters. I found them all interesting, and I love the character studies and their relationships to each other and their backstories. Some were explored more than others, but you can only imagine, it's not too long of a book, and it would have taken longer to explore everybody. But I found all the characters really interesting, and they were part of my favorite part of the book, I guess. Yeah, other than that, it was mostly, fascinating enough to keep turning the pages. There's only one dry section when a police detective shows up, and he just starts listing events that have happened that we've already read about that I found unnecessary, and maybe that's why I didn't totally love this, but I did really like it. But that's okay. And then I found the ending interesting. It explored death and kind of talked about death kind of in a more deep way than I expected, so I appreciated that added bit of depth. And yeah, I have a special place in my heart for older, cozy mysteries, because when I was a kid, that was one of the first things I was drawn into reading, and so I love classic mysteries every once in a while because they're cozy and nostalgic, and this was no exception. This is a cool series this was published under called the British Library Crime Classics, and they republish British crime fiction from the golden age of crime fiction mostly, and that have been forgotten, and I always think it's cool when publishers do stuff like that. I always enjoy that, so I would like to check out some more of their titles. And I do recommend this if this is your cup of tea. The second book I read this month was The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jen Campbell. And this was published in 2017, towards the end of 2017, so this is a more recent release. And this is a short story collection made up of 12 stories. Most of them fall under the category of magical realism. If not, they're at least pretty magical, strange, bizarre, or inspired by fairy tale, and a lot of them have a melancholic feel as well. And and I enjoyed most of the stories. I think there were only like two that I didn't like really particularly resonate with, but the rest I enjoyed and found interesting. I had three favorites, one absolute favorite. So my absolute favorite was the title story, The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night, and it was written in a play type format, like a script, and it was just between a couple who are talking in the middle of the night about different beginnings and endings, mostly about like the world and the universe, but other things as well, including their relationship. And I found it creative, like the style of it was creative, it was beautiful. I found it intimate and ultimately heartbreaking. It did make me cry, and it's really stuck with me. It was a powerful, good story that I recommend picking this up solely for that, even. And so my second favorite was the first story in the collection called Animals, which is about a world where you can buy hearts online. It was rather a dark take on love, but I found interesting. It's largely inspired by fairy tale. And then my third favorite was a story called, hold on, I always forget what it's called because that's like a weird long title. Plum Pie, Zombie Green, Yellow Bee, Purple Monster. And that was about these kids who are named after plants and are part plant and go to a summer camp every year for kids that are part plant. And it was, I don't know, it was interesting and cute and magical and whimsical. And I enjoyed it. Anyway, so this is the second time I've read something by Jen Campbell. I've read her poetry collection called The Hungry Ghost Festival, which was interesting and kind of had like a magical flair as well. I find her an interesting writer and an interesting person. I watch her videos on BookTube. She's pretty famous. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of her. And I really like her taste in books as well. Because I had kind of like a weird rough start on YouTube, I feel like I don't really interact with all my like favorite book channels because I have quite a few, and I feel like maybe I should start doing that. I just like wasn't in the habit of doing it, and but maybe I should get in the habit of doing it. But she's one of my favorites, and you should check her out on YouTube as well as her new book. Anyway, so those were the two books that I finished this month. Like I said, I had another piece of fiction that I did read that month, but I finished in January. It was really good though, and you can look forward to a review of that soon. I've also been reading a poetry collection for like a couple months now, but it is long and I've really been wanting to savor it, but then I've kind of like forgotten that I've been reading it, so I don't pick it up that much. So I should remember to read it, and maybe that will be included too in January because I was reading that in December as well. If you want to talk to me, if you want to recommend something to me, if you have read either of these books, please feel free to comment below. I have written reviews up on Tumblr and Goodreads. I don't think I have reviews up of either of these yet for certain reasons. You can find other written reviews on Tumblr and Goodreads. I did start writing for a magazine called Taylor Magazine. I have one review up there right now. You can find a link to that on my Tumblr. I also recently started using Patreon, so if you want to support me there, that would be really cool. You know, it would encourage me to make more videos and just potentially, depending on how much support I get, maybe make better videos, and it always helps me just to buy books in general to review in the first place. So if you feel so inclined, I always appreciate it. And I'll link that below as well. So I'll see you next month for my January wrap up, and I might have a favorite books of 2017 video. I feel like that'd be a good idea, although I need to even decide what those books are. So maybe I'll have that up at some point as well. Anyways, I'll see you next time. Bye.